On Thanksgiving Day, my daughter slammed the door right in front of me, shouting, "We have nothing to thank you for. You're just a burden." The guests at the table stared at my humiliation, laughing through their champagne. But the next morning, the police woke her up and, before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The pumpkin pie was still steaming when I knocked. 3 sharp raps, the way Martha always taught me, firm but polite. Rain hammered against my back, 40-mile gusts whipping through Laurelhurst like the neighborhood itself wanted me gone. My umbrella had snapped 2 blocks back, metal ribs jutting out like broken fingers. Now I stood there at 1847, holding Martha's recipe in ceramic form, watching condensation bead on the glass door. 5 o'clock sharp. I'd promised myself I wouldn't be late. Through the frosted window, I could make out movement, laughter, the clink of wine glasses, classical music, something Martha used to play, Vivaldi maybe. The smell of turkey and rosemary hit me even through the closed door, mixing with the scent of my pie cooling too fast in the November cold. 42 degrees, the car radio had said. Felt colder, standing still. Megan Gray watched from across the street, window number 1543, her curtains pulled back just enough. She'd seen me park 3 houses down, no space closer. Seen me limp through puddles, favoring my left knee. That knee hadn't been right since the warehouse job in '03. The house looked different. New shutters, black instead of the forest green Martha had picked. The porch light was one of those modern fixtures, all angles and brushed steel. I remembered helping Jacob install the old one, him handing me tools while Ashley watched from her bedroom window. She'd been 16 then. That was before everything changed. I knocked again. The door opened 6 inches, chain still attached. Ashley filled the gap, wearing a dress I didn't recognize. Silk, navy blue, probably cost more than my monthly pension. Her hair was up in one of those complicated styles that require a professional. Behind her, I caught glimpses of people I didn't know. A blonde woman in red, a man with a beard holding champagne. Dad. Not a question, not a greeting. Just acknowledgement, like spotting a stray dog on the lawn. "Happy Thanksgiving, sweetheart." The words caught in my throat. "I know I should have called, but it's Thanksgiving, family day. I spent 3 hours making your mother's pie." She glanced at the dish in my hands, then back at my face. Her expression didn't change. "Mother's dead, just like any relationship we had." The words hit harder than the wind. I tried to step forward, but the chain held. "Ashley, please, I just want—" "Shannon," she called over her shoulder, not looking away from me. "Could you check the wine?" A woman appeared behind her, Shannon apparently. 30-something, expensive jewelry, the kind of person who'd never stood in rain waiting to be acknowledged. "Is everything okay, Ash?" "Just someone looking for handouts." Ashley's voice carried, meant for the room behind her. "Wrong neighborhood for that." I heard laughter, not directed at me, just the ambient sound of people enjoying themselves, but it felt personal. Through the window beside the door, I could count them. 7 guests. Sarah Mitchell from Ashley's college days. Kelly something or other. And there, near the fireplace, was Claire, my brother's widow. She'd been at Daniel's funeral, had hugged me, told me family mattered. Now she was raising a glass with strangers in my daughter's house. My house. The thought came unbidden, sharp and cold. I pushed it away. "I'm not here for handouts." My voice came out rougher than intended. "I'm here because you're my daughter, because Martha would want—" "Don't." Ashley's hand tightened on the door. "Don't you dare use her name. You lost that right." Jacob appeared then, filling the space behind Ashley. 34 years old, same age as Ashley, wearing a sweater that probably cost what I made in a week back when I was working. He put his hand on her shoulder, proprietary. "Everything all right, babe?" "Just taking care of something." She started closing the door. "Ashley, wait." But she was already speaking, her voice loud enough for everyone inside to hear. "Some people just don't know when they're not wanted." The door closed. The lock clicked. I stood there, pie growing cold in my hands. Through the window, I watched them return to their party. Someone made a joke. I couldn't hear it, but I saw the laughter. Ashley accepted a glass from Jacob, smiled at something Claire said. The Vivaldi swelled. My fingers went numb. The pie dish slipped, hit the porch with a crack that split the ceramic clean through. Pumpkin filling oozed across welcome mat letters, mixing with rainwater. Martha's recipe, 3 hours of work, spreading into nothing. I should have left then, should have walked back to my car, driven home, accepted that some bridges burned too thoroughly to rebuild. But I didn't move, couldn't move, just stood there watching my daughter celebrate without me, in a house I'd helped build with my own hands. The knee gave out on the third step down. I caught myself on the railing, pain shooting up my thigh. The wet leaves had turned the walkway into a skating rink. Behind me, someone inside laughed again. I didn't turn around. My car sat where I'd left it, 3 houses down under a broken streetlight. It took 3 tries to start, engine flooded, sputtering in the cold. While I waited, I watched the house through sheets of rain, watched the warm glow of windows, the silhouettes of people toasting, watched my daughter's life continue without me in it. The glove compartment fell open when I hit a pothole earlier. Now I saw what had spilled out. An old photo, edges curled with age. Martha and Ashley at the beach, Ashley maybe 5 years old, building sandcastles. Martha's smile, the way she looked at our daughter like she held the whole world. Back when I thought I knew what family meant. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. Something crinkled in my jacket pocket. Mail I'd grabbed from my box on the way over. Hadn't looked at it yet. One envelope stood out now, official looking. Property owner, 1847 Laurelhurst Drive. The engine finally caught. I sat there another moment, rain drumming on the roof, that envelope burning a hole through wet fabric. Then I drove away from my daughter's house, away from the life I thought I'd built, away from everything I thought I knew about family and forgiveness and the price of unconditional love. The apartment smelled like mildew and instant coffee when I stumbled through the door at 7. Water dripped from my jacket onto linoleum that hadn't been replaced since the 80s. The envelope from my pocket, crumpled now, damp from rain, landed on the kitchen counter with a slap that echoed in the empty space. I didn't open it right away. Couldn't. My hands were shaking too hard, and not just from the cold. The knee throbbed where I'd fallen. I should have iced it, should have changed out of wet clothes, should have done a lot of things. Instead, I stood in my kitchen, dripping puddles onto the floor, staring at that envelope like it might bite. When did I become the kind of man who got turned away from his own daughter's door? The question circled my brain while I peeled off soaked layers. Jacket, sweater, shirt. All of it went into a heap by the bathroom. In the mirror, I looked older than 67. Older than I felt most days. The kind of old that comes from carrying weight that has no name. I poured bourbon, just one, hands still unsteady, and returned to that envelope. Inside, property tax assessment, current, official. Property owner, Elvin Peterson. Property address, 1847 Laurelhurst Drive. Below that, numbers that made my vision blur. 5 years of assessments. 5 years of payments I'd made without thinking much about it. 5 years of my daughter living rent-free in a house that was still legally mine. The thought arrived slowly, then all at once, like water breaching a dam. I set down the glass and walked to the bedroom, to the closet where Martha's things still hung because I couldn't bear to pack them away. Behind her dresses, behind the boxes of shoes she'd never wear again, was the safe. The combination took 3 tries. I kept using birthdays, Ashley's, Martha's, mine, but none of them worked. Then I remembered Martha's death date, February 14th, 2020, Valentine's Day. The universe's cruel joke. The safe opened, documents spilled across the bedroom floor like accusations. Construction photos of the Laurelhurst house. Me in a hard hat, younger, prouder, standing beside wooden frames that would become walls. Bank statements showing property tax payments, insurance premiums, maintenance costs, all in my name, all for the past 5 years. And there, at the bottom, the deed. My hands shook harder as I read it. Transfer of property from Elvin Peterson to Ashley Peterson Walker, dated November 2019. But something was wrong. The signature line where Ashley's name should be, blank. The notary seal, expired, and clipped to the front, a sticky note in Martha's handwriting. Wait until she appreciates it. I sat there on the bedroom floor, surrounded by evidence of a gift that was never completed. A house I'd built with my own hands, transferred in intention, but not in law. A daughter who'd lived there for 5 years, believing it was hers, treating me like a stranger who didn't belong. The clock on the nightstand read 10:23 p.m. I found Brandon Torres's business card in my wallet, tucked behind my insurance card where I'd kept it since Martha's funeral. Brandon had handled the estate planning, had been the one to suggest the property transfer in the first place. Give her security, he'd said. Give her a foundation. Martha had wanted to wait. She's not ready, she'd told me in one of our last conversations. She doesn't understand sacrifice yet, what it costs to build something. I'd argued. Ashley was 32 then, married, settled. When would she ever be ready? But Martha had been firm. We'll know when the time is right. Then Martha died, and the time never came. I dialed Brandon's number at 10:47 p.m. My hands had finally stopped shaking, replaced by something colder, something that felt like clarity. He answered on the third ring, voice thick with sleep, or wine, or both. "This is Torres." "Brandon, it's Elvin Peterson." A pause. "Elvin, on Thanksgiving? This must be serious. You remember that property transfer we discussed in 2019, the house on Laurelhurst?" I heard him shifting, probably sitting up. "The one your wife wanted to delay? Yes, I remember. Check if it ever went through, if it's legally binding. Give me a minute." Keyboard clicks in the background. "I have remote access to county records. Let me just—" More clicking, a long silence. "No, it didn't. The notary seal expired before Ashley signed. You're still the legal owner. Why? What's going on?" I looked at the photo I'd pulled from my car, Martha and Ashley at the beach, building castles. Then at the envelope on my kitchen counter, the broken pie dish I could still see when I closed my eyes. "Can you meet me tonight? I'll pay triple your holiday rate." Another pause, longer this time. "Elvin." Brandon's voice changed, got that careful tone lawyers use when they smell trouble. "What's really going on?" "They've lived there rent-free for 5 years." The words came out flat, factual. "It's time to collect." "Elvin, can you meet or not?" He sighed. "Give me an hour, my office. But we're going to talk about this before we do anything." I hung up and walked to the living room where Ashley's wedding photo hung on the wall. Not the one from her actual wedding, I hadn't been invited to that, but from her college graduation, her in a cap and gown, me beside her, both of us smiling like we believed the future would be kind. I took it down, stared at it for a long moment, considered tearing it, throwing it away, erasing the evidence that I'd once been the kind of father who got included in moments that mattered. Instead, I turned it face down on the shelf. "No more free rides, princess," I said to the empty room. The apartment didn't answer, just the hum of the refrigerator, the drip of water from my jacket, the sound of a man who'd spent 67 years building things for other people, finally deciding to take something back. I grabbed my coat, still damp but wearable, and headed for the door. Brandon's office was 20 minutes away. The night was young, and somewhere in Portland my daughter was probably pouring another glass of wine, laughing with strangers, living in a house that was about to stop being free. Portland's streets were empty at 11:30, just rain-slicked asphalt reflecting neon and the occasional taillight. My GPS guided me downtown, Brandon's office address glowing blue on the screen. The wipers beat a steady rhythm against glass, hypnotic, almost calming. Almost. The parking garage entrance appeared between two buildings I'd helped renovate back in the 90s. Level B1 was full. B2 had construction barriers. I spiraled down to B3, where fluorescent lights flickered like dying fireflies, casting everything in sickly yellow. The knee protested when I climbed out, sharp pain shooting up my thigh. I'd need ice eventually. Later, after, the elevator smelled like cleaning solution and something else. Defeat, maybe, or desperation. People who came to lawyers at midnight rarely brought good news. My reflection in the brushed steel doors showed a man I barely recognized. Wet hair plastered to skull, eyes that looked older than 67, jaw set in a way Martha used to call my construction boss face. "Working late again, Mr. Peterson?" The security guard at the desk looked up from his phone. Young guy, early 20s, name tag reading Marcus. He'd been here when I came for Martha's estate planning, 3 years ago now. "Business doesn't keep regular hours." "Tell me about it." He waved me through without checking ID. "Mr. Torres is expecting you, suite 1407. The hallway on 14 was carpeted in that expensive way that swallows sound, gold lettering on frosted glass. Torres and Associates Family Law. Lights blazed inside, I could see Brandon's silhouette moving behind the translucent barrier. I pushed through the door. Brandon looked like Thanksgiving had interrupted him mid-celebration. Gravy stain on his tie, the kind that only comes from leaning over a plate enthusiastically. His office was smaller than I remembered, but warmer. Mahogany desk cluttered with papers. 3 computer monitors glowing against the wall. A coffee maker gurgling in the corner like a mechanical throat clearing itself. Elvin. He stood, extending a hand. His grip was firm, but not performative. Sit. Coffee? Black. My voice came out rougher than intended. He poured 2 cups while I lowered myself into the leather chair across from his desk. My knee throbbed. The coffee tasted burnt, but I drank it anyway. Brandon settled into his chair, fingers already flying across the keyboard. I pulled up everything while you were driving. Property records, tax history, the original transfer documents from 2019. He turned one monitor toward me. Numbers scrolled past. Dates, official seals. This is worse than you think, Elvin. Or better, depending on your perspective. Show me. He clicked through screens. Property tax records, $47,000 paid over 5 years. All from your account. Insurance claims, roof repair in 2021, $12,000. Flooding in 2023, $8,000. Utility bills auto-paid from your checking account. Another click. And then there's this. A text message conversation appeared on screen. Ashley's name at the top, messages to someone named Sarah. Dad will never know about the refinancing. He's too checked out to notice. Another message, 3 months later. If he asks about the house, just tell him it's complicated. He won't push. My hands tightened on the coffee cup. Where did you get those? The question came out flat. Discovery from an unrelated case. They were submitted as evidence of assets during a civil suit Jacob filed against a contractor. Brandon leaned back. They've been committing fraud, Elvin. This could be criminal. I don't want jail for her. The words surprised me even as I said them. I want justice. There's a difference. Brandon studied me for a long moment. Then he pulled down a thick book from the shelf behind him. Oregon Revised Statutes. Pages whispered as he flipped through them. Oregon law is clear on this. Without a lease agreement, they're month-to-month tenants. You can terminate tenancy with proper notice. 30 days gives them time to manipulate me, to make me change my mind. True. He tapped the book. But there's an immediate eviction clause. Tenant breach for non-payment of rent for 60 consecutive months qualifies. It's rare, usually reserved for squatter situations, but he looked up. This technically fits the definition. How fast can we move? Brandon checked his watch. Sheriff's office opens at 6 a.m. We file emergency eviction notice for tenant breach. If we have everything ready, they can serve it by morning. Today, November 29th, Black Friday. His smile was grim. Appropriate, don't you think? The coffee had gone cold in my hand. I set it down carefully, afraid I might crush the cup otherwise. They owe me money. Rent. Brandon's fingers danced across a calculator. At market rate for Laurelhurst, roughly $3,000 per month. 5 years. He whistled low. $180,000 in back rent, plus damages, utilities, maintenance costs. He looked at me. You could ruin them, Elvin, completely. No. The word came out harder than I intended. I just want my property back. I want them to understand what they took from me. Respect. Dignity, I corrected him. They took my dignity when they shut that door in my face. Brandon nodded slowly. Then he pulled fresh paper from a drawer and began typing. We'll draft 3 documents. Notice of immediate eviction for cause, demand for back rent, and a temporary restraining order preventing them from removing fixtures or damaging property. His eyes met mine. Once we start this, there's no gentle way forward. You understand that? She made her choice when she called me a beggar. For the next hour, we worked in silence, broken only by keyboard clicks and the occasional question. Brandon drafted legal language that transformed my hurt into official demands. I signed where he indicated, my signature looking shakier with each document. At 12:15, his assistant arrived, a woman in her 50s who looked like she'd been woken from sleep, but was too professional to complain. She notarized everything with a stamp that seemed too loud in the quiet office. Sheriff's fee is $350, Brandon said when she left. Cash. I counted out bills from my wallet. Money I'd brought for Thanksgiving groceries, for a pie that ended up broken on a doorstep. Brandon made the call at 12:30. Speakerphone, a man's voice gravelly with sleep. Deputy Sheriff Martinez. This better be important, Torres. Emergency eviction. Tenant breach, 60 months non-payment. Client is elderly, property owner. Tenant is family member engaging in elder exploitation. A long pause. It's Thanksgiving night, counselor. 5 years of theft is unusual too. Brandon's voice stayed level. Can you serve at 6 a.m.? More silence. Then, send me the paperwork. If it's legitimate, we'll be there at 0600. Confirmation number? EV 2024-1129-0600. But Torres, this is on your head if it goes sideways. Understood. The call ended. Brandon looked at me across the desk, his face showing something between respect and concern. Last chance to back out. Once the sheriff knocks on that door, there's no taking it back. No apologies that will erase this. I thought about Ashley's face through the frosted glass, the sound of laughter behind her, Claire raising a toast with strangers while I stood outside holding a pie. The years I'd spent building that house with my own hands, thinking I was building a legacy. She already burned that bridge. My hand reached for the pen, ready to sign one final document, the authorization for immediate service. The clock on Brandon's wall showed 2 a.m. exactly. My signature went down firm and clear. Sleep wasn't possible. I'd tried, sitting in my apartment, staring at ceiling tiles I'd counted 1,000 times. By 5 a.m., I gave up and got back in my car. The city was still dark. That particular quality of darkness that comes just before dawn threatens to break through. I parked 3 blocks from 1847 Laurelhurst, same spot as yesterday. The rain had finally stopped, leaving everything clean and cold. Lights still glowed in the kitchen windows. Through the gaps in curtains, I could see movement. Ashley, probably cleaning up from the party. The dishwasher would be running, leftover turkey getting wrapped, the ordinary aftermath of a holiday that had been anything but ordinary. 42 degrees again. I could see my breath. The Hendersons' dog started barking from 2 houses down. A German shepherd named Rex, who'd known me since he was a puppy. I'd helped build their fence when they first moved in. Rex remembered. Dogs have better memories than people sometimes. My phone buzzed. Text from Brandon. Sheriff ETA 6 Pro. Stay in vehicle. Do not approach property. I typed back. Understood. Another light came on upstairs. Jacob's silhouette in the bedroom window, stretching. Morning person, apparently. At 5:45, the front door opened and he emerged in running gear, expensive athletic wear, wireless earbuds, the whole package. He did a few stretches on the porch, then jogged down the driveway and turned left, straight toward where I was parked. I slumped down in my seat, suddenly grateful for the broken streetlight. He passed within 10 feet, breath misting in the cold air, completely oblivious. His footsteps faded down the block. I counted to 60 before sitting back up. Through the kitchen window, Ashley was visible again. Navy blue robe, hair in a messy bun. She picked up a wine glass someone had left on the counter, placed it in the dishwasher. Normal, domestic. A woman in her house doing morning chores. Except, it wasn't her house. 6 o'clock arrived with 2 patrol cars turning onto Laurelhurst Drive. No sirens, but brief flashes of blue and red that lit up the street like lightning. Porch lights started coming on in neighboring houses, curtains moved, Portland at dawn on Black Friday, and the neighborhood was getting a show. Deputy Sheriff Martinez stepped out of the first car, a Hispanic woman in her mid-40s, built like someone who didn't take arguments from anyone. Her uniform was crisp despite the hour. A younger deputy emerged from the second vehicle, Latino, maybe 25, nervous energy radiating off him like heat. Martinez reviewed paperwork under her car's interior light, then walked up the driveway with the younger deputy trailing. Her knock was professional, 3 solid raps that carried across the cold air. No answer. She knocked again, louder. The porch light came on. The door opened. Ashley stood there in her robe, confusion written across her face. What is this? Why are police here? Martinez's voice carried clearly in the morning quiet. Are you Ashley Peterson Walker? Yes, what's happening? Ashley looked past them to the patrol cars, to neighbors now openly watching from porches and windows. Official notice of eviction for non-payment of rent. Martinez held out papers. Property owner Elvin Peterson requires vacation of premises within 72 hours. I watched Ashley's face change, confusion to recognition to something darker. This is impossible. This is my house. Ma'am, according to Multnomah County records, you're not the listed owner. Martinez's tone stayed level, professional. The property belongs to Elvin Peterson, has since construction in 1987. No, that's wrong. Your mother was Martha Peterson, deceased 2020. Property remained in your father's name. There was no completed transfer. Ashley's hand gripped the doorframe. Where is he? Where is my father? Jacob appeared then, returning from his run, still wearing earbuds. He pulled them out when he saw the patrol cars. Officers, what's going on? Sir, are you Jacob Walker? Yes, and there's been a mistake. We own this house. No, sir, you don't. Martinez handed him papers. You have 72 hours to vacate. That's December 2nd at 10 a.m. Any personal belongings must be removed by that time. This is insane! Ashley's voice rose. It's 6 in the morning on Black Friday. Ma'am, this is a legal eviction notice. You can contest it in court, but you must vacate by the specified date. Ashley threw the papers at Jacob. This is your fault. You said the house was legally ours. I thought it was. Your mother said, My mother's dead, Jacob. More neighbors appeared on sidewalks. Megan Gray from across the street held up her phone, recording. The younger deputy shifted uncomfortably, clearly wishing he was anywhere else. Martinez continued, unflappable. You have the right to retrieve personal belongings under supervision. Any damage to the property will result in criminal charges. Utilities will be shut off on December 2nd at noon. You'll receive written confirmation within 24 hours. We've lived here 5 years. Jacob's face was red now. 5 years! Without paying rent, according to this eviction notice. That's the basis for immediate termination of tenancy. Martinez turned to leave, then paused. You have options. You can contact a lawyer, file a motion to stay the eviction, or comply peacefully. Those are your choices. Ashley pushed past Jacob down the porch steps. Her eyes scanned the street, searching. They landed on my car. Even in the dim light, I saw the moment she recognized the silhouette behind the wheel. She started toward me. Jacob caught her arm. Ashley, don't. That's what he wants. I need to talk to him. No. Jacob's grip tightened. We call our lawyer first. We handle this legally. Ashley sagged against him, and for a moment she looked like the little girl I'd taught to ride a bike on this very street. 30 years ago, before everything got complicated, before love turned into obligation, turned into resentment, turned into whatever this was. I started my engine. Through the rearview mirror, I watched her sink to her knees in the driveway. Jacob crouched beside her, trying to comfort her, while deputies drove away and neighbors whispered behind hands. The sun was starting to break through clouds, painting everything gold and red. My phone buzzed. Brandon? It's done. Stay away for 72 hours. Let them process this. I drove away slowly, following the patrol cars toward the main road. At the corner, I pulled into the overlook that gave a view of downtown Portland waking up below. Steam rising from buildings. Early commuters on the highway. A city that didn't care about one old man's revenge. My phone started exploding. Calls from Ashley's number, from Jacob's, from numbers I didn't recognize, probably relatives who had heard already. Social media worked fast. I turned it off. Martha's photo was still in my wallet, the one from my glove compartment. I pulled it out, looked at her smile, at Ashley building sandcastles. She learned nothing from your kindness, I said to the image. Nothing about sacrifice, about earning what you're given. A new message came through just before the phone died. Unknown number. I opened it. You'll regret this, old man. Jacob? I set the phone on the passenger seat and watched the sun finish rising over the city. My city. The one I'd helped build with my own hands, one building at a time. Somewhere behind me, my daughter was learning a lesson that should have been taught years ago. The hard way. The only way that seemed to stick anymore. I learned what happened next through Brandon's investigator and through Megan Gray's Facebook videos that went viral by noon. Black Friday shoppers drove past 1847 Laurelhurst, while my daughter's world collapsed inside. Brandon called me at 10 a.m. Thought you should know what's unfolding. My paralegal Monica drove by the house. Ashley's car is still there, lights on in every room. She's looking for documents. Smart guess. Papers rustled on his end. Monica also checked courthouse records. Ashley tried accessing property files online at 8:47 a.m. System flagged it and sent me an alert. I stood at my apartment window, coffee growing cold in Martha's favorite mug. What else? Give me a few hours. I'll compile a full report. The report arrived by email at 2 p.m. Monica had been thorough. Timestamps, locations, even photographs from public spaces. I read it twice, each detail cutting deeper than the last. Ashley had torn through their home office starting at 9:30 a.m. File cabinets emptied across the floor. Tax returns, insurance policies, warranties for appliances, everything except what she needed. Every utility bill showed my name. Every insurance claim listed me as property owner. She'd found a canceled check from 2019 made out to me. Memo line reading, House Gift Tax Consultation. At 11:15, she'd driven to Wells Fargo on Burnside. Monica watched from the coffee shop across the street as Ashley ran inside, parking crooked across two spaces. The bank manager spent 20 minutes with her in his office. When Ashley emerged, her makeup was streaked black down her cheeks. The security guard had to escort her out when she started shouting. Monica had recorded the audio from outside. "But I've been paying the mortgage." Ashley's voice carried through the glass doors. "There is no mortgage, ma'am," the manager responded. "Property was paid off in full November 2019. Account holder, Elvin Peterson, sole owner." My daughter learned the truth sitting in a bank lobby while strangers stared. The lawyer shopping came next. First stop. Peterson and Associates downtown. No relation to us, just unfortunate naming. The receptionist told Ashley their attorneys were out for Black Friday. A junior associate reviewed the eviction papers, shaking his head. "Without ownership documents, you have no standing. Oregon requires 7 years for squatters' rights. You've only been there 5. "But it's my house," Ashley had insisted. "Not according to Multnomah County, ma'am." Second attempt, a strip mall office with a sign reading, "Quick Eviction Defense." Monica's photos showed water-stained ceiling tiles and a lawyer eating Chinese takeout from the container. He'd quoted $5,000 cash retainer. "Your chances? Maybe 20% if we're lucky and your dad makes a mistake." Jacob, standing behind Ashley, had called it extortion. The lawyer had shrugged. "It's Black Friday pricing, take it or leave it." They'd left. At 4:30 p.m., Ashley tried a virtual consultation through LegalZoom. Monica couldn't record that one, but Jacob's raised voice carried through their front door. Something about a frozen screen and California attorneys who didn't know Oregon law. Brandon called again at 5. "The laptop throwing incident? I read your report. Neighbor 2 doors down called police. Non-emergency line, but still. Ashley and Jacob fighting about whose fault this is." He paused. "You holding up okay?" My phone showed 47 missed calls. Voicemails I hadn't listened to. "Fine. Elvin." His voice shifted, became more personal. "I have to ask, are you sure about this?" I thought about standing in the rain holding a pie, about the sound of laughter behind a closed door, about Martha's sticky note. Wait until she appreciates it. She had 37 years to appreciate what she had. Fair enough. More keyboard sounds. One more thing. Ashley found something at 5:47 p.m. Monica couldn't see what, but she sat on the porch steps for 20 minutes holding a piece of paper, just staring at it. I knew what it was before he said anything else. The birthday card from last year. Inside, I'd written, "The house was always meant to be yours. When you're ready to appreciate it, love, Dad." Monica's final photo showed Ashley crumpling the card, then smoothing it out, then crumpling it again. Jacob stood in the doorway, watching. His lips moved, but the investigator couldn't hear the words. "Maybe we should just pack," Brandon read from Monica's lip-reading notes. "That's what she thinks," he said. I set down my coffee, picked up Martha's photo from last night, her smile at the beach with Ashley, back when my daughter's eyes held something other than entitlement and contempt. "Send me the full surveillance report," I said. "I want to know everywhere they go, everyone they call, everything." "Elvin, that's going to cost, I don't care what it costs." My voice came out harder than I intended. She had one chance to treat me like family. She chose to slam a door in my face instead. "Understood." Brandon's professionalism returned. "Report will be in your inbox by morning. Get some rest." Rest wasn't coming. I knew that before I hung up. The sun set over Portland, painting my apartment walls orange and gold. Normal people were finishing Black Friday shopping, carrying bags full of bargains. Meanwhile, my daughter was learning that some things can't be bought back once you've thrown them away. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, then saw the preview. "I'm still your daughter. Ashley." She'd gotten a new phone or borrowed someone else's to get through. I typed a response. "Were you? When you called me a beggar? When you let your friends laugh while I stood in the rain?" My thumb hovered over send for 30 seconds. Then I deleted it and turned off my phone completely. Tomorrow was Saturday. 2 more days until December 2nd. 72 hours for Ashley to understand what Martha had known all along, that gifts unearned and unappreciated aren't gifts at all. They're burdens waiting to crush whoever carries them. Rain returned Saturday morning, drumming against windows that hadn't been washed in months. 6 a.m., and I was already up, making coffee in Martha's favorite mug. The ritual felt important somehow, using her things, remembering the woman who'd known our daughter better than I had. My sister Linda called at 6:30. I'd been expecting it. "Elvin Peterson, what have you done?" Her voice carried that particular tone she'd used since we were kids. Older sister authority mixed with genuine concern. 58 years of practice made it sharp as glass. "Morning, Linda. Don't morning me. She's my niece. It's Thanksgiving weekend. Everyone's calling, asking what happened. Megan Gray's video has 3,000 shares." I poured cream into my coffee, watching it swirl. Ashley said I was nothing but a burden, that I was in the wrong neighborhood for handouts. "She didn't mean it." Linda's voice climbed higher. "She was stressed. Hosting wasn't easy. Words have consequences, Linda. Martha would be ashamed." The coffee cup stopped halfway to my lips. Martha left a note. "Wait until she appreciates it." Martha knew exactly what kind of person Ashley had become. Silence on the line, then quieter. "I don't believe that." "Believe what you want. My decision is final." I hung up mid-sentence, something I'd never done to Linda before. The phone immediately started ringing again. I blocked the number and poured a second cup of coffee I didn't need. The next 3 hours brought a parade of family members. Cousin Raymond at 7, Aunt Patricia at 7:45, Cousin Michelle at 8:30. Each one with the same script, like they'd coordinated. "Let's talk this through." "Family forgives." "Think about Martha's memory." My responses got shorter each time. "My decision is final. No discussion needed. Please don't call again." By 9 a.m., I'd blocked 6 numbers. The phone still kept buzzing. At 9:47, Kyle called. Ashley's younger brother, my nephew. 28 years old, living in Sacramento. Always been the mediator. "Uncle Elvin, you there?" His voice sounded younger than 28. Scared, maybe. Like he was 12 again, asking me to fix something broken. "I'm here." "This is crazy. She's your daughter. You can't just throw her out." "Can I?" I sat down at my kitchen table, where Martha and I used to do crosswords on Sunday mornings. "The law says otherwise. Fix this or I'm driving up from California. I'll be there by tonight." "Drive safe." My voice stayed level. "Won't change anything." "You'll die alone, you know that?" Kyle's voice cracked. "Pushing everyone away like this, you'll end up completely alone." The words hit somewhere deeper than I wanted to admit. But I'd thought about this during the long hours before dawn. "I've been alone since Martha died, Kyle. The rest of you just didn't notice." "No?" His voice hardened. "You pushed everyone away. Don't blame us for not climbing over the walls you built." I ended the call without responding. Blocked his number, too. Brandon arrived at my apartment at 11, carrying a leather briefcase and looking like he'd slept better than I had. Rain had soaked his shoulders during the walk from the parking garage. "You're a hard man to reach." He set the briefcase on my kitchen counter. "I've been trying to call for an hour." "Phone's off." "Smart." He pulled out documents, spreading them across the counter like a dealer showing cards. "We need to finalize some things. Locksmith is confirmed for December 2nd at 10:15 a.m. Police will supervise to ensure peaceful transition." What if they refuse to leave? Brandon's expression didn't change. Then it becomes criminal trespass, immediate arrest. But I don't think Ashley will risk that. "You don't know her like I do." I studied the papers. Eviction finalization. Property transfer documents for storage unit. Something else underneath. "What's this?" Beneficiary change forms. He pulled them forward. Your investment accounts, life insurance, retirement funds, everything currently lists Ashley as primary beneficiary. My hand stopped on the papers. I'm recommending you change them. Today. Brandon's voice stayed professional, but something in his eyes showed he understood the weight of what he was suggesting. Remove Ashley from everything, otherwise, if something happens to you during this legal process, she inherits everything anyway. Exactly. I sat down heavily. The chair creaked under my weight. Old furniture, like everything in this apartment, like me. Who would I list instead? Charity, scholarship fund in Martha's name, split it between organizations, anything but leaving it to someone who's currently fighting you in court. He pulled out a pen. Or you could wait, think about it. No? I took the pen. Let's do it now. We spent the next hour going through every account. Investment portfolio with Fidelity. Beneficiary changed to Portland Community Foundation. Life insurance through MetLife. Beneficiary changed to Martha Peterson Memorial Scholarship Fund. I'd create it next week. Retirement account. Split between 3 different charities. Brandon watched me sign each form with an expression I couldn't read. When we finished, he gathered the papers carefully. You sure about this, Elvin? This is permanent. These can't be easily undone. She made her choice at that door. My hand was steady signing my daughter out of my life. I'm just making mine. After Brandon left, the apartment felt smaller, quieter. I pulled out photo albums I hadn't looked at in years. Ashley's first birthday, cake smeared across her face. Graduation from college, me standing beside her in a suit Martha had picked out. Her wedding. Wait, no. I hadn't been at her wedding. Just photos she'd sent afterward, professional shots where Jacob and Ashley smiled like magazine models. When had the gap started? When had my daughter become someone who could look at me with contempt? Martha's journal sat on the bedroom shelf, exactly where she'd left it 4 years ago. I'd never read it before, seemed like an invasion of privacy, even after death. But now I pulled it down, hands shaking slightly. February 2018. Ashley called today, asked for $5,000 for house repairs. This is the 3rd time this year. Elvin gave it to her without question. He doesn't see that she only calls when she needs money. May 2019. Fought with Elvin about the property transfer. He wants to give Ashley the house now. I said no. She needs to learn to earn things, not just receive them. She's 34 years old and still expects everything handed to her. August 2019. Ashley hasn't visited in 6 months, but she texts asking about the house transfer. Elvin finally agreed to wait. I told him, when she's ready to appreciate it, we'll know, not before. I sat on the edge of our bed, my bed now, reading my wife's words. She'd known. Martha had seen what I'd been too blind to see. I poured a single scotch, Martha's limit for me, the one drink she'd allow before saying, that's enough. Stood at the window watching the city lights blink on as darkness fell. Saturday evening in Portland, and somewhere out there my daughter was packing her life into boxes. My phone, turned back on for Brandon's call, showed dozens of missed calls, voicemails I'd never listened to. One text from an unknown number stood out. I'm still your daughter. I typed a response. Were you? Stared at it for a long time. Deleted it without sending. Sunday brought more of the same. Church friends called after service. Pastor wants to mediate, someone said. I politely declined. No religious intervention needed. Email from Sarah, Ashley's college friend, who'd been at the Thanksgiving dinner. Subject line, please reconsider. I deleted it without opening. Groceries at 2 p.m., normal routine. The cashier, a young woman with pink streaks in her hair, smiled brightly. Have a blessed Sunday. The irony wasn't lost on me. I made dinner for one, pasta, Martha's recipe. Set out 2 plates from habit, then slowly put Martha's away. The empty chair across from me seemed to grow larger as I ate. Sunday evening. 8 p.m. 62 hours since the sheriff knocked on Ashley's door. 14 hours until eviction became final. The doorbell rang. I checked the security camera, new installation from last year, Brandon had insisted after a break-in 2 buildings over. Ashley stood there alone, soaking wet despite an umbrella, holding a container of something. Her face was pale, eyes red from crying. She was saying something I couldn't hear through the rain and the camera's audio lag. My finger hovered over the intercom button. She looked up at the camera, directly at me, somehow knowing I was watching. Her mouth moved. Please. I watched her for 17 seconds, counted them, watched rain run down her face, mixing with tears. Watched her hold up the container, my mother's casserole dish, the one I'd given her years ago. Then I walked to my bedroom and closed the door, leaving her image flickering on the monitor in the living room. Tomorrow was December 2nd. Eviction day. 10 a.m. sharp. The rain kept falling, and somewhere outside my apartment, my daughter stood in it, learning the same lesson I'd learned standing on her porch 3 days ago. Some doors, once closed, don't open again. The recording app was already running when I started the car. 9 a.m. on December 2nd, and my hand stayed steady on the wheel despite everything. Brandon's text glowed on the passenger seat. Remember, stay calm, record everything. Martha's photo sat in my shirt pocket, right over my heart. I'd placed it there after breakfast, speaking to her image like she could hear me. For you, not her. The words felt important to say aloud, even in an empty apartment. My route to Laurelhurst took me through the old neighborhood deliberately slowly, past the playground on Morrison, where I'd taught Ashley to pump her legs on the swings, her laughter ringing across summer evenings. Past the ice cream shop, closed now, replaced by a vape store, where we'd celebrated every birthday until she turned 16 and decided she was too old for family traditions. Each memory should have softened something inside me. Instead, they hardened my resolve like concrete setting in winter. The radio played holiday music. I switched it off. A rental moving truck already occupied the driveway when I arrived at 9:23. U-Haul, 20-footer. Probably cost them $200 they didn't have. Boxes scattered across the lawn in no particular order. Clothes mixing with kitchen items, no organization to any of it. Through the front window, I could see Ashley's silhouette, hair unwashed and wild. Jacob carried a dresser down the porch steps, his shirt dark with sweat despite the cold morning. Neighbors lined their porches pretending to check mail, trim hedges, anything that gave them an excuse to watch. Megan Gray stood openly on her porch with her phone out, recording. Again. The video from Friday had gone viral, 3,000 shares last I checked. Now she'd document the finale. I parked across the street instead of pulling into the driveway. Deliberate distance. Professional. Ashley burst through the front door before I'd even opened my car door. No shoes, stepping directly onto wet grass that would stain her pajama pants. Dad, thank goodness you're here. Her hands reach for me. I step back. I'm here to ensure orderly transition of the property. The words came out clinical, exactly as Brandon and I had rehearsed. Ashley's face crumbled like paper in fire. Transition? I'm your daughter. Jacob appeared in the doorway, dresser forgotten inside. Get back in the house, Ash. No. She whirled on him, then back to me. We need to talk, please. Mrs. Chen emerged from the Marcus 1851 with her garbage can, watching. Mr. Rodriguez across the street paused midway to his car, keys dangling. There's nothing to discuss. I kept my voice level, phone recording in my pocket, getting everything. You have until 10 a.m. tomorrow to complete removal of personal belongings. Ashley dropped to her knees on the wet lawn. Mascara already ran down her face. Yesterday's makeup never washed off. She looked like someone who hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, hadn't stopped crying for 3 days. I was wrong, so wrong. That day, Thanksgiving, her voice broke. I was stressed. Jacob's business is failing. We're completely broke. Yet, you could afford to host dinner for 7 people? It was all credit cards. The words came out in a wail. Everything's maxed out. We have nothing. Jacob moved down the steps toward us, fists clenched. Back off, Ashley. He's enjoying this. Where will we go? Ashley's hands grabbed at my jacket. Please, Daddy, we have nowhere. I removed her fingers gently but firmly. That's not my problem anymore. Mom wouldn't want this. Her voice climbed higher, desperate. She'd want you to forgive me. The mention of Martha hit somewhere deep, but I'd prepared for this. I pulled out my phone, opened the photo I'd taken of Martha's journal entry, showed it to Ashley. Her eyes scanned the words. She only calls when she needs money. Ashley needs tough love. Elvin too soft on her. Your mother knew exactly what kind of person you'd become. Ashley read the entry again, then looked up at me with something like horror. She wrote that? February 2018, one of many similar observations. I put the phone away. Martha tried to tell me. I didn't want to listen. Jacob was beside us now, standing too close. Aggressive posture, shoulders squared. You're a rich old man playing games with people's lives. I'm not rich. The correction came out sharper than intended. You just assumed I was because you needed me to be. We know about your retirement account. Jacob's face was red, veins visible in his neck. Had to cash it out for your mother-in-law's cancer treatment. I looked directly at Ashley. Stage 4, 18 months of chemotherapy and radiation, while you were too busy to visit. Ashley's mouth opened, no sound came out. You came twice, I continued. Once for diagnosis, once when we thought she might die that week. She lived another 14 months after that. You never came back. I had work. Ashley's voice was barely a whisper. Everyone has work. Some people also have priorities. Jacob moved closer, invading my space. You'll regret this. I promise you'll regret this. Is that a threat? I raised my voice slightly, just enough. Should I call the sheriff? Deputy Martinez is on standby. Jacob's eyes flicked to my phone, visible in my hand, recording light on. He stepped back, fists still clenched. Ashley grabbed his arm, pulling him further away. He's recording us, she whispered, loud enough for me to hear. They both looked at me then. Really looked, saw what I'd become. Not the soft father who'd given them a free house for 5 years. Someone else, someone harder. Ashley stood slowly, grass stains marking her pajama knees. Her face changed, shuttering closed. I'll contest this in court. With what money? The question hung between us. You just said you're broke? I'll find a way. You're not thinking clearly. You're sick with grief. My thinking's never been clearer. I hate you. The words came out flat, empty of everything except truth. Finally, some honesty between us. She ran then, back into the house, slamming the door hard enough that glass rattled in its frame. Jacob followed, shooting me one last look that promised violence if circumstances were different. I checked my watch. 9:47 a.m. Megan Gray approached from across the street, phone lowered. Mr. Peterson, this seems harsh. You saw Thanksgiving, Megan. I did, she nodded slowly. Still, she's family. Family doesn't treat family like garbage. Other neighbors were closer now, drawn by the drama. Mrs. Chen stopped beside her garbage can. Good for you, Elvin. I saw how she treated you. This is too much, man. Mr. Rodriguez shook his head. She's your daughter. The neighborhood was divided, some nodding approval, understanding justice, others shaking their heads, seeing only a father punishing his child. Both were right, both were wrong. Truth lived somewhere in the middle, where nobody wanted to look too closely. I walked back to my car without looking at the house again. Got in, started the engine. My phone buzzed immediately. Brandon. How'd it go? Me. Done. They have until 10 a.m. tomorrow. I set the phone on the dashboard and sat there for a moment, watching the moving truck in my rearview mirror. Jacob emerged with another box. Ashley visible through the window, throwing things into containers with violent motions. Something hit my windshield. A rock, not large enough to break the glass, but hard enough to leave a star-shaped crack spreading from the impact point. In the rearview mirror, Jacob stood in the driveway, another rock in his hand. Ashley appeared beside him, grabbing his arm, pulling him back toward the house. He resisted for a moment, then let her drag him inside. I started the car and drove away slowly, carefully. The crack in my windshield caught the morning light, fracturing it into 100 different directions. Some things, once broken, don't fix themselves. The moving truck sat in the driveway like a monument to failure. 6 p.m., and half the house remained unpacked. Ashley stood in the kitchen surrounded by open cabinets, trying to decide what mattered anymore. We need the coffee maker. She held up the Keurig her father had given them 3 Christmases ago. We need beds first. Jacob carried in another box from the garage, dropped it heavily on the counter. Priorities, Ashley. The box labeled fragile, tipped, tumbled, crashed to the floor. Wedding china, Martha's wedding china, passed down with the house, shattered across tile. White porcelain and gold trim in 1,000 pieces. They both stared at the destruction. The metaphor wasn't lost on either of them. Your mother's china. Ashley's voice came out hollow. It's just stuff, Jacob. But it wasn't just stuff. It was the last piece of Martha they'd kept intact, and now it lay broken between them like everything else. The sound of things breaking became the evening's soundtrack. Glasses slipping, frames cracking, 15 years of accumulated possessions, 14 hours to pack them all. The master bedroom looked like a crime scene, clothes thrown into garbage bags instead of folded. Where's my suit? Jacob rifled through a bag. The gray one? Who cares about suits now? I have an interview next week. You're unemployed, Jacob. Why do you even need... She stopped herself, but the damage was done. His face went hard. My business failed because I was supporting your lifestyle. My lifestyle? You're the one who insisted we lease the BMW. They moved to the office next, searching for documents and filing cabinets they had ignored for years. Birth certificates, passports, tax returns mixed with expired insurance policies. You were supposed to organize these. Ashley threw papers across the room. When? While working 60-hour weeks to pay for dinners we couldn't afford? The guest room remained untouched since Linda's last visit 2 years ago. Elvin's reading glasses sat on the nightstand where he'd left them, forgotten after helping them install shelves. Ashley picked them up, held them for a long moment, then threw them in the trash. Down the hall, the empty nursery mocked them. 5 years in this house, and the crib still sat unassembled in its box. Stuffed animals Elvin had bought for grandchildren he'd never meet lined the shelves, tags still attached. We wasted 5 years here. Jacob stood in the doorway. We were building something. Ashley's voice broke. We were playing house on your dad's dime. Admit it. The truth cut deeper than any insult. Ashley grabbed stuffed animals, throwing them into boxes without looking at the tags. Grandchild number 1, written in Elvin's handwriting on a card attached to a teddy bear. She crumpled it, threw it away. At 7:30, Ashley started calling friends, college roommates, bridesmaids, people who'd liked her Facebook posts last week. Just for a few nights, her voice carried desperate optimism. We're between places. Sorry, no space. You know how small apartments are these days. Click, next call. Remember when you said, if I ever needed anything? Oh, I meant like a ride to the airport or something, not, housing. Click. By 8 p.m., she'd exhausted her contact list. Facebook friends who'd commented, "Love you, girl," on vacation photos vanished when actually needed. 27 calls, 0 offers of help. Jacob sat on the couch, their couch, but which one would get it? Scrolling his phone. Extended stay America, $89 per night. How long? He tried their Chase card, declined, tried Bank of America, declined. The Discover card with a $500 limit finally went through. 5 nights maximum, then what? He did the math on his phone calculator. That's our food money. We'll figure it out. Ashley's voice carried no conviction. Neither of them believed it. At 9, they drove to U-Haul storage facility across town, racing against closing time. The clerk, a teenager who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, showed them the last available unit. $140 per month, first and last due today. Ashley handed over cash from her emergency fund, the one she'd been saving for a new couch. The unit door rolled up to reveal a space barely larger than a walk-in closet. How do we fit a house in here? Jacob stared at the dimensions. They couldn't. Choices had to be made. Keep the bed, store the dresser. Family photo albums went into the unit, buried under boxes of dishes. Memories deemed less essential than cookware. Back at the house, the blame game began in earnest. Your greed caused this. Jacob slammed a box down. My greed? Your disrespect. Ashley threw a dish towel at him. You're the one who told me to keep distance from him. Not lose the free house. His voice echoed off empty walls. You never even liked my father. He never liked me. Now we know why. He saw through me. He saw through both of us. What's that supposed to mean? Years of resentment surfaced like corpses from deep water. His business failures funded by her father's money. Her shopping addiction maxing out credit cards they couldn't pay. Each accusation pulling another thread from the fabric of their marriage. This is your fault, Ashley said, voice gone cold. No, it's yours. We're supposed to be partners. Partners don't drag each other into bankruptcy. At 1:30 a.m., Jacob started packing a separate bag, a duffel, just clothes and toiletries. Where are you going? Ashley watched from the bedroom doorway. My brother's. In Sacramento? That's 10 hours away. What about me? Call your precious daddy. The words hung in the air like poison gas. Ashley's face crumpled. We're married, for better or worse. This is definitely worse. He zipped the duffel with violent finality. She grabbed the wedding album from a box they'd been packing, opened it to their first dance photo, both of them younger, thinner, hopeful. Everything ahead of them. We were different people then, she whispered. Your father paid for that wedding too. Jacob took the album from her hands, closed it, shoved it in a box. That's the problem. He paid for everything. We never had to earn anything, so we never appreciated it. The final knife twist. The truth she couldn't argue against. Jacob left at 2:47 a.m., duffel bag over his shoulder, not looking back. His truck's taillights disappeared down Laurelhurst, heading south toward Interstate 5. Ashley sat alone in the empty living room. Eviction deadline in 7 hours. Boxes everywhere. House ransacked. Marriage dissolved. Everything she'd built in 5 years dismantled in one night. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Your father's at Portland General. Heart episode. Room 314. Her thumb hovered between delete and call. Should she go? He'd ignored her on Sunday night. Refused to speak to her this morning. Watched her fall apart without flinching. But he was her father. And if something happened? Through the front window, headlights moved slowly past. She looked up just in time to see Elvin's car driving by, checking the packing progress. Watching to make sure his timeline was met. Her phone screen still glowed with the message. The hospital. Room 314. Heart episode. The text was a lie, but Ashley didn't know that. Couldn't know. Someone was manipulating her, but who and why? She stared at her father's car disappearing down the street. Stared at the phone. Stared at the boxes surrounding her like a fortress made of failure. The deadline was in 7 hours. The sun would rise in 3. Nothing would ever be the same again. 9:30 a.m. found me parked 2 houses down, strategically positioned where I could see the driveway but remain less visible myself. Jacob's car was notably absent, gone since 2:47 this morning, according to the timestamp on the security footage I'd reviewed. He'd left her, good. Megan Gray was already set up on her porch, phone on a tripod, live streaming to whatever audience found other people's misery entertaining. Day 3 of the Peterson drama, I heard her say as I walked past. Final eviction happening any minute now. 7 neighbors stood on various lawns clutching coffee mugs like tickets to a show. The mail carrier moved deliberately slowly down the block, eyes fixed on 1847. Then the news van arrived, Channel 8. Someone had called the media, and I ducked lower in my seat, suddenly grateful I'd parked where I did. My phone buzzed. Brandon. Stay calm. Almost over. Through Ashley's front window, I could see her on the phone, still wearing yesterday's clothes. Boxes sat haphazardly on the lawn, some already damaged from morning dew that had soaked through cardboard. Photo albums, our family's history, lay abandoned on the porch steps. Martha's china set rested by the garbage cans, too broken to pack, too precious to throw away. Left in limbo like everything else. The patrol cars arrived at 9:58. 2 of them, Sheriff Martinez in the lead vehicle, locksmith van following close behind. Professional, official, final. Martinez stepped out, checking paperwork one last time against her clipboard. When she spotted my car, she walked over, tapped on my window. Mr. Peterson, you need to be present for this. I emerged into cold December air that smelled like rain coming. Neighbors stared. Megan's camera swiveled to follow me. I walked past Ashley's abandoned belongings, a stuffed bear I'd won for her at the county fair when she was 8, a graduation frame with the glass cracked, not making eye contact with any of it. Ma'am, time's up. Martinez knocked firmly on the door. Please exit the premises. The door opened slowly. Ashley stood there looking like she'd aged a decade in 4 days. Hair unwashed, eyes hollow, clothes rumpled. She gripped the doorframe like it might save her. I'm not leaving. This is theft. Ma'am, you've had 72 hours notice as required by law. Martinez's voice stayed professional but firm. Please step outside. Where's Jacob? The question came out of me before I could stop it. Ashley's eyes found mine across the distance between us. Gone? Happy now? He left me. Her grip on the doorframe tightened. I was born in this house. No, Ashley. My voice carried clearly in the cold morning. You were born at Providence Hospital while I was still building this place for you. The correction seemed to break something in her. Her shoulders sagged. Don't make this difficult, Martinez said, stepping forward. You have 30 minutes to collect any remaining personal items. After that, the locks change. Ashley moved through the house like a zombie, grabbing random objects, dropping others. I stayed outside, watching through windows as she wandered from room to room. In the kitchen, she picked up a mug, Martha's favorite, the one with roses, then set it down and left it. In the living room, she found my reading glasses where she'd thrown them yesterday, carried them to the door, and tossed them at my feet. Keep your leftovers. I picked them up silently, pocketed them. The frames were bent but not broken. Behind us, the locksmith's drill whined to life, working on the first lock. Each turn of the bit sounded like a nail going into a coffin. At 10:27, Ashley emerged with one suitcase. Just one. Everything else left behind or in storage or abandoned on the lawn for garbage collectors. She stood face to face with me on the driveway while neighbors recorded everything on phones held at chest level, pretending they weren't. Say it. Her voice was raw from crying. Say you're enjoying this. I'm not enjoying anything. The truth came easier than I expected. I'm ending 5 years of disrespect. There's a difference. You ended 38 years of love. Her voice rose, cracked. 38 years. No, Ashley. You did that at Thanksgiving when you called me a burden, when you shut a door in my face while your friends laughed. I never meant. Words matter. Actions matter more. I cut her off, not unkindly, but firmly. You had 5 years to treat me with basic human dignity. You chose contempt instead. I'll never forgive you for this. Neither will I. For the 5 years I lost with your mother while you were too busy to visit. For the respect I'll never get back. An Uber pulled up. She must have called it from inside. The driver looked at the scene uncertainly, at the pile of belongings, at the sheriff supervising, at the cameras. Ashley dragged her suitcase toward the car. The wheel caught on a crack in the driveway, a crack I'd been meaning to fix for 2 years, and broke off completely. She had to carry the bag, struggling with its weight, pride preventing her from asking for help. I didn't offer, couldn't. This lesson had to cut all the way through. All that stuff won't fit, the driver said, eyeing the boxes. Just drive, Extended Stay America on Foster. The car pulled away. Ashley didn't look back, staring straight ahead through the window. I stood among her abandoned things as the locksmith finished the last lock and handed me 3 new keys on a ring. It's done, Mr. Peterson. Sheriff Martinez signed final paperwork, handed me a copy. Thank you, Deputy Martinez. She nodded, climbed in her patrol car, drove away. The news van lingered for a few more minutes, then followed when no more drama materialized. Neighbors slowly dispersed, returned to their lives, left me standing alone in front of a house that was mine again. I walked inside for the first time in 5 years. Empty rooms echoed with footsteps, bare walls where pictures had hung, Ashley's height marks on the kitchen doorframe, 3 years old, 5, 7, 12, each line labeled in Martha's handwriting. Behind the radiator in what used to be her bedroom, I found crayon drawings she'd made at 6, hidden where we'd never seen them. Stick figures labeled Mommy, Daddy, me, hearts and flowers, and a sun with rays like fingers reaching. I sat in the kitchen at the table where Martha and I had our last breakfast together, her spot across from me empty now, the way it had been for 4 years, the way it would be forever. My phone rang. I almost didn't answer. Brandon. How are you holding up? It's done. I have news. Buyer already interested. Young couple, cash offer. They want to move fast. How fast? 30 days if you're willing. $650, above asking price. The number meant nothing. Everything. Enough to set up the trust fund I'd been planning. Enough to start fresh somewhere that didn't echo with ghosts. Send me the paperwork. I ended the call and stood, intending to leave, when I noticed the floorboard in Ashley's old room was slightly raised. Loose, the way it had been when she was a teenager and hid things from us. I pried it up, her diary, leather-bound, pages worn. I shouldn't have opened it, did anyway. The last entry dated December 2nd. If he goes through with this, I've lost everything. Maybe I deserve it. Maybe we both do. I don't know how to be better. I never learned because I never had to. Jacob's right. We played house on Dad's money and called it a life. Now it's over, and I don't know who I am without it. My hands shook holding her words. The phone in my pocket felt heavy with Brandon's message about the buyer, about moving forward, about cash and closing dates and futures that didn't include the past. I stood there in my daughter's empty room, between the evidence of who she'd been and the uncertain knowledge of who she might become, frozen between vengeance completed and emptiness that felt remarkably like grief. Snow fell outside the realtor's office windows when I signed the sales papers. January 15th, exactly 6 weeks after the eviction. The young couple sat across from me, pregnant wife, nervous husband, both of them glowing with the kind of hope I remembered from decades ago. "Great schools in this neighborhood," the realtor said, sliding papers across the mahogany table. I didn't mention the history, didn't tell them about the height marks on the door frame or the crayon drawings behind the radiator. Those were mine to carry, not theirs to inherit. The check deposited on February 14th, Valentine's Day, Martha's favorite holiday, and the day she died. The universe's sense of timing had always been cruel. Brandon's office, February 20th. Papers spread between us like a map to a future I hadn't planned. Grandchildren's Educational Trust, I read from the header, 500,000 principal. Ashley can never touch the principal, Brandon explained. Only distributed for education and medical expenses for any children she might have. If no grandchildren by the time she's 60, it goes to Martha's cancer charity. Does she know? Not yet. You said to wait for the right time. I'll know when that is. I didn't know if I believed that, but I signed anyway. March came with an unexpected call from Linda. My sister's voice carried that careful tone people use when delivering news that might explode. She's working 2 jobs now, waitressing at some diner downtown, retail on weekends. I listened, phone pressed to my ear, looking out my apartment window at Portland, stretching gray and wet below. She's living in a studio apartment in Gresham, pays her own rent, hasn't asked anyone for money. Linda paused. Jacob filed for divorce. Good. She doesn't blame you anymore. Linda's voice softened. Just herself. She's in therapy, Elvin. I hung up without responding, but the words stayed with me. 2 jobs, therapy, taking responsibility. The beginning of something, maybe. Not redemption yet, just the foundation where redemption might eventually be built. April brought an unexpected encounter with Megan Gray at the Safeway on Burnside. She appeared beside me in the produce section, awkward recognition passing between us. I saw Ashley yesterday, she said without preamble. At the diner on Morrison. She's lost weight, looks tired. I see. She asked about you. My hand stopped on the tomatoes I'd been inspecting. What did you tell her? That you sold the house to a nice family, that there's a baby on the way. Megan shifted her grocery basket. She cried in the parking lot. I almost called you. I'm glad you didn't. Are you, though? She looked at me with eyes that had recorded too much of our family's collapse. Because you looked pretty empty at that eviction. I moved to a different aisle without answering. Some observations cut too close to truth. Kyle appeared at my door in May, his mother's eyes and his sister's stubborn jaw. Uncle Elvin, can we talk? We sat at my kitchen table with coffee. Neither of us touched. Outside, spring rain turned everything green and new. She's different now, Kyle said. Humbled, working hard. She's paid back 3 of her credit cards. Good for her. She never mentions the house, never complains, just works and goes to therapy and tries to figure out who she's supposed to be. He leaned forward. Will you see her? When she's ready. How will you know? I'll know. The letter arrived June 10th. Handwritten envelope, no return address. Ashley's careful script that looked like Martha's used to. 3 pages, tear-stained ink bleeding in places. I read it standing at my kitchen counter, hands shaking by the second paragraph. She didn't ask for anything, didn't beg or plead or justify. Just explained, apologized, took responsibility for things I hadn't even realized she understood. I see now what Mom tried to teach me, what you tried to show me, that nothing valuable comes free, that respect isn't owed, it's earned. I'm earning it now, 1 shift at a time, 1 therapy session at a time, 1 day of not being the person I was. I understand now that you weren't punishing me. You were teaching me. I'm sorry it took losing everything to learn the lesson. I love you, Dad. No request to meet, no phone number, just words and space and the possibility of something growing in the distance between us. I called her June 15th, hands unsteady on the phone. Coffee? Saturday? Silence. Then crying I could hear through the connection. Really? Yes. Where? That cafe downtown, the new one on 3rd. Not our usual place, neutral ground, fresh start. A location with no history to haunt us. I don't expect everything to be fixed, I said. I don't expect anything. Her voice was smaller than I remembered. Just thank you. Saturday, June 17th, 2 p.m. I arrived 5 minutes early and found her already there, waiting outside despite the heat. Thrift store clothes, clean and neat, no jewelry, simple makeup, looking like someone who'd learned to get by with less. She stood when she saw me, didn't rush forward, waited for permission. I nodded. We embraced briefly, both crying quietly, neither apologizing for it. Inside, we ordered coffee and sat across from each other at a small table by the window, starting safe, building slowly. Tell me about your work, she told me. Hours that were hard but honest. Customers who were sometimes kind, sometimes cruel. Paychecks that stretched but covered rent and therapy and groceries. Pride that came from earning instead of receiving. 2 hours passed like 20 minutes. I have something for you. I pulled out the envelope Brandon had prepared. She read the trust fund document slowly, tears streaming down her face. For your children someday, so they can have what you should have learned to value earlier. I don't deserve, no, I cut her off gently, but they will. Monthly coffee meetings became routine, July, August. Ashley never asking for money, me never offering. Building something new that wasn't father-daughter yet, but might be someday. 2 people learning respect from scratch. In early August, she invited me to see her apartment. Small, clean, minimal. Photos of Martha on every surface. Proof that she remembered, that she honored, that she'd finally learned what mattered. I work 60 hours a week, she said, showing me around with shy pride. Saving for a house down payment, the right way this time. August 30th, Martha's birthday. We met at the cemetery without discussing it, both of us showing up with flowers. Ashley's were simple, purchased with money she'd earned. I'm sorry, Mom. She knelt by the headstone. For everything. For not visiting when you were sick. For not listening when you tried to teach me. For being so blind for so long. My hand found her shoulder. She knew you'd learn eventually. Just took longer than we hoped. We walked to our cars together, not fully healed but healing. That was enough for now. August 31st. My phone buzzed with a photo. Ashley holding an Employee of the Month certificate at the diner. Genuine smile. Pride in her eyes. The message below, making you proud, one day at a time. I forwarded it to Linda with 3 words. She's coming back. Outside my apartment window, I could see the old neighborhood where the house used to be. The young family's children played in the yard, where Ashley once learned to ride her bike, where Martha had planted roses, where I'd built something I thought would last forever. It hadn't lasted, but something else was growing now. Smaller, harder won. Built on truth instead of obligation. Not what I'd planned, not what I'd imagined, but maybe, eventually, something real. The circle was closing, just differently than I'd expected. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.